I'm just gonna preface this video by saying I'm not a pro. I'm a silver player. I am not Swim who's got this game down to a science. I'm a dude who's played card games for 8 years and is not very good at them. But I think I've, through osmosis, gotten enough knowledge that I think I know what I'm talking about, at least somewhat. Now, I've played Ionia Shadowized Ephemerals since the open beta. I stopped a little bit due to some computer problems around Targon, but other than that I've been playing since the beta. And I played Magic all the way up until the pandemic started. And there's a serious problem with Ionia's ephemeral cards. Like, a really, really big problem. What effectively has happened is, over the course of the game's lifespan, well, it's actually kind of been its problem since the beginning, it's that Ionian ephemerals don't have any synergy. Like, I'm gonna count as exactly how many cards work off of ephemeral in Ionia. 1, 2. That is it. Those are the only 2 cards in Ionia that have bonuses if you have ephemeral allies. Otherwise, they might as well just be weaker than usual normal units. And that's kind of a problem. Because let's see. Let's change this from Ionia to Shadow Isles. Every single card that... Let's see. This gives some synergy because you can reduce its cost without doing anything. This buffs them, this summons more. This, it doesn't really matter if the second ephemerals, you're just creating more. This is a buff. I mean, it's not direct synergy. This literally gives a buff. This, like, there's a lot of things where it would be ephemeral already, but which might not be your definition of synergy, but it works with the cards. Meanwhile, you have a 1 mana that turns 1/1 that turns into a 2/2. And Deathmark, which is actually a pretty well-designed card. I'm not gonna crap on this card. But let's just look at the problem. When you're playing Shadow Isles Ephemeral, like let's say with Demacia, like, you've got synergy. You've got the 2 mana 2/3 that gives things so much. Why can't I remember? And you've got Hecarim, who levels up. And you've got Shark Chariot. You've got all these things. And then you get to Zed, and he has absolutely no synergy with ephemerals whatsoever. Like, his level 1, I think it's pretty easy. It's a 3/2 that with quick attack that summons another 3/2. That's decent for level 1. But then you get to level 2, and it's like, oh, he also gets, his shadows also get whatever his stats are. I mean, his keywords. And then you think about it and you're like, wait, that's useless. Quick attack doesn't work on ephemerals because they just die. Which means he isn't adding anything to Ionian ephemerals because he just a 3/2 that summons another attacker. That's literally his entire contribution. Like, this buff here, this doesn't say play with me with ephemerals. It says play me with buffs like Might or Ghost. Like, the 2 times Zed has been relevant, or at least semi-relevant, was back when Standalone was 3 mana because you just used him to get 2 6/5s. Was it 6/5s? Yeah, 6/5s. On turn 3, which was not very fun to play against. And there was like a bit of experimentation with Lulu Zed, because he's doubling all your buffs. Zed isn't an ephemeral card, he's a buffs card, which isn't a good place when everything about him screams, I'm a shadow magic dude, I should be ephemerals. But in order to do this, I'm just going to sort every single card into 3 categories. This is not really an ephemeral card, it just uses ephemeral. Like Eye of the Dragon, Trevor Snooze Bottom, and go get it. They just use ephemeral because they need it to only stick around for 1 turn. Otherwise, you get infinite 2/1s with a lifesteal, infinite whatever Snooze Bottom does, and infinite thing. Well, not infinite, but it'd be a lot more powerful. So for category 1, it's Trevor, go get it, and Eye of the Dragon. Sorry about that. Yeah, these are the cards that are not relevant to this discussion. They're not really ephemeral cards. Then we've got the cards who actually are pretty good as they are. Like we got Shadow Ship. It's a decent card. It saves an ally and summons something into place. So you're not losing. So you can like take out things and save a unit at the same time. It's a good double if you. Yeah, it's a good double value if you can use it right. Deathmark is the same thing. It's basically Deathmark, Shadow Shift, Dawn and Dusk, and Shadow Apprentice. Because Shadow Apprentice is a decent card. Yeah, Dawn and Dusk, it serves its purpose. It's a clone card. But it also works well for ephemerals because you're making 2 more ephemerals. Like, use this on a Hecarim, and that's basically an instant win if they can't deal with it. And then we've got the third section. The cards we're going to be talking about. You know the ones. These. Also, there's not very many. Like, if you let's take a look at Shadow Isles. That's a lot of cards. A lot of cards that use ephemeral in some way, shape, or form. Not all of them are good. Like, I don't think the last time I don't think I've ever seen anyone play Splinter Soul outside a few combo decks. But there's not that many Ionian ephemeral cards. And if you can discount the ones that aren't actually ephemeral cards, they're just like cards that happen to use ephemeral, then it gets even smaller. But let's start with the first one, Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend, it's always suffered from just being a big stat stick with nothing. Like, it's not as good as an aggro card because nobody plays Ionia aggro, unless you're doing elusives, which is a different problem altogether. And this is just like a big stat stick. I honestly do not know what to do with this card. Like, Shadow Fiend, I just do not know. I don't know how you would make this good without, like, it's supposed to be a stat stick that costs less because it's ephemeral. Except you don't get any bonuses. Because if you want ephemeral triggers, just play the 0 mana 1/1. This just, it needs some major changes, and I don't think I'd need to. Silent Shadow Seer? The problem this Silent Shadow Seer has is that it is anti-synergy. Basically, if you take away Ephemeral with Deathmark, the copy it creates will still be Ephemeral. So the combos just don't work. So what I do is I change it to be an exact copy. That way you can stack it. So you can get a little combo between Deathmark and Silent Shadow Shear that doesn't involve, you know, basically just getting a 3/1 for 2, which isn't that good. Like the biggest problem with this is, besides the whole it doesn't really work with synergy, is you can just play Greenglade Duo, which is a 2/1 for 2 that doesn't have Ephemeral and can get a lot bigger. Like, this is just an inferior Greenglade Duo. The problem I keep seeing is these just aren't very good cards. Like, we all meme about Red Shadowblade, but have you ever seen anyone actually use Shadow Flare? Well, I guess it's no. These two are fine. Zed. The Zed is the problem child, because he's not... Like, Hecarim is the ephemeral champion in Shadow Isles. He's the leader of them. When he attacks, he summons ephemeral units, and then when he levels up, he gives them all buffs. Zed is like a mini Hecarim, but a lot worse, because all he does is summon 3/2s and eventually 4/3s. And that's the big problem. Leveling him up does effectively nothing. As I said before, quick attack is useless, so you're going to need other cards to give him buffs in order to, like, copy. Like, let's say put Might on him, and then you get 2 8 threes with Ephemeral and Overwhelm. But the problem with that is that you're not getting very much payoff for that. And it's not, like, no Ephemeral deck is going to be running Might, because that means you have to be in Noxus. Which means you're having to rely on Ionia for everything else. So my suggestion for him would be change his stats and keywords to give Ephemeral some sort of on-hit effect. Like, say, something like akin to the Sand Soldiers from the newest expansion. Like, just, like, maybe do one, or if you want to go really all in, like, draw one, which would probably be actually broken. But, like, just give some effect that actually synergizes with Ephemerals. Like, just give an Ephemeral buff. Because the problem is giving Ephemerals quick attack does nothing. And then we've got Ren Shadowblade. Honestly, this card has been often called a worse Zed, and Zed isn't very good to begin with. So, like, the problem really being is all he's doing is creating an infinite supply of 4 threes, which isn't that good, because Shadow Fiend isn't that good. So I would suggest change his strike effect. Ideally, change his strike effect to some sort of ephemeral synergy, like reduce the cost of ephemeral units in hand by 1. So, like, you can, like, let's say you could get a combo going where, since it's an exact copy, you could reduce the cost of your Silent Shadowseer. I think that's how it would work. I might be misunderstanding, since that isn't actually in the game. But honestly, just change his strike effect to be more powerful. Not more, like, oh yes, more powerful, but more in line with Ephemeral synergy. And then we got Shadow Flare, a card which, did you know, actually has an animation. I didn't know that until 2 weeks ago because nobody plays it. The problem with this is Ephemerals kind of relies on its non-ephemeral units to make sure that its ephemeral units actually do something. Like, if you give Hecarim Ephemeral, you have a problem because you lose a lot of power. And most of the time, this isn't doing very much. Like, sure, you can give an entire attacking board Ephemeral, but there are other times when it just absolutely bricks because giving all your followers Ephemeral is, well, actually no, you can't give Hecarim Ephemeral because he's a champion. What I would say to choose is to give Shadow Flare some form of ephemeral synergy. Like, an idea that was floating through my head was, like, make it so that for every ephemeral unit you have, give another unit ephemeral. So, like, if you attacked with Zed and a Shark Chariot, you could give 2 things ephemeral. And then if you have a board full of ephemerals, i.e. when the shadows are at their strongest, you can give the opponent's entire board ephemeral, and this can be like a pseudo board wipe. Of course, that's probably a bad idea. I'd say give ephemeral synergy. And then we have Usari, which, like, there are cards that, like, okay, they don't work because they're kind of weak, but then there are cards like Usari who they don't work because they don't make any sense. Usari is a 5-mana 4/3 with Challenger and Elusive. Which makes no sense because Challenger and Elusive are competing with each other. Challenger wants to get stuff out of the way. Elusive doesn't want to be blocked at all. So, like, just Yusari needs a full rework. I'm almost certain he's an Order of the Shadow character, and I'm just honestly not sure what they were going for with him. I'd say full rework, give him some sort of ephemeral synergy, and then maybe we can talk. But yeah, I've tried to play Ionia Ephemerals for so long, I've just concluded that aside from a few cards, it's just not worth it. Like, my current deck is basically just running Dawn and Dusk and Deathmark. And that new 1/4. And yet, it's just because most of them don't synergize with each other. You got this 2/1, sure, with the 2/3 that gives +1/+1, you can get a 4/2, except you're basically getting a 2-mana 4/2 that you have to play every single time for 2 mana. And just, it's super counterable, and don't even get me started on Red Shadowblade. Like, yes, back when he was 8 mana and gave all your opponents things ephemerals, it was not fun to play against. This is even worse. I remember someone saying that, like, they somehow made a bad card worse. But yeah, thanks for listening to a dude just rant about the archetype he's been trying to play and wasting his time for the past year. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on Reddit, upvote and comment what you think about this, any changes you would propose to make Ionian Ephemerals an actual thing. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day.